We are go for liftoff in T minus 30.
Hit the record button.
Gosh, that's swell.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, wherever you are, whenever you are. This is Italo speaking. This is Italo's Black Tag Radio, in case you don't know, that you're listening to. And I have my third guest. No, wait, is this the third guest this year? I don't know. I think it is. So why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know where you're at, what's going on with you this morning. Nice to meet you, by the way. I only met you like, I don't know, how long, 3 days ago, 4 days ago?
It's been almost a week. Yeah, I think it was either Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
I was on my live on TikTok. And that's when you came in. But my name's Chioka Gray. I reside I live in Greenville, South Carolina, but I'm actually currently in Georgia. I've been on the East Coast. I'm an East Coast kind of guy. Up and down the East Coast. I'm one of those. I got a northern mentality, I guess you could say. But this is home. It has its ups and downs, its advantages and its disadvantages. But I like it. I love California, though. I can tell you that. I do love visiting. I could not say I'd want to live out that way.
Okay. that could be a discussion, but
yeah.
Well, LA is my home. It's always been my home.
yeah.
But tell me, so we were discussing in your live. We're talking about TikTok. So for those that don't know by now, TikTok, you can go through people's lives. They call them a live.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came to across yours, and then you were talking about. Anyways, let me know what you were talking. Let my listeners know what was happening.
On my live, and we discussed this briefly, but I was talking about a range of things because it's like a rabbit hole dealing with me sometimes. But I do know I was covering, I was discussing prison, like social issues. I even discussed topics touching on mental health, how to achieve success after being in prison. There are a lot of things that come along with that. Obviously, we'll get into that maybe in a minute, but man, I might have even discussed a little bit about politics, to be honest with you, because all of that stuff kind of ties in together on the grand scheme of things. But I know there were a lot of people that were new to my live that were coming through, you being one of them. And that's the reason I gave the introduction of me being in prison, having been in prison, spent 7 years in prison. And that sometimes comes to a shock to people because looking at me and seeing how I conduct myself day to day, I don't fit that stereotype. And that's the funniest, one of the things I find funniest about society right now was that, not everybody wears those stripes, if you will. Not everybody's a Bengal or a tiger when they come out of prison. Some people are actually, we re-enter society and become positive contributors. We work, we're successful. We do a lot of things, but it all starts from what went on before that. And that's one of the things I don't think I was able to touch on too much.
Well, you were discussing now that we're talking about this, and I'm glad that we started with this because there's a pandemic of the mind, I call it, in our society in America. Let's just put it that way. And yes, I think we touched about politics in the sense that the way the prison system works for it's a business pretty much. So what
Mm-hmm.
we're discussing, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And how there's investors that are investing in it, invested in prisons,
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about that, which was interesting to me. And then
Yeah.
let's start there. Let's start. I mean, let's start talking about it.
All right.
Because
So,
by the way, this my podcast has no censorship, so
okay, I got you. Okay.
I'm not gonna mute. I'm not gonna ban you from my live, and I'm not doing any of that.
I got you.
So
So, um, I'll start here because I think this is now that you say that, it kind of reminded me of what I was speaking about. Um, during the Reconstruction era, when we still had good old Abraham Lincoln as president, he implemented the amendments and amended the 13th Amendment, which, and this is paraphrasing, slavery is abolished with the exception of those who are being imprisoned. And immediately, black people in this country, people of color, because it wasn't just black people, there were Native and indigenous people and Latino descent that were in this country as well. But they would start making moves, but then they implemented this prison system. And the prison system basically would just incarcerate people of color for ridiculous charges, regardless of how people want to um, acknowledge it, whether or not they want to acknowledge the fact that that is true, um, or they want to disregard it. But it did happen. And gradually over a period of time, this was the new wave of the South, because at first the king of the economy in the South was, I believe it was rice. Then it went from rice to cotton, and then it went from cotton to prison. Chain gangs were implemented in the South. You could still go to parts of Mississippi, Alabama, even Texas, and you'll still see these chain gangs they have in place. Um, I could tell you in the state, South Carolina has somewhere between 13 to 20 prisons in that state, and it's a small state. It is a huge industry. One of the reasons why South Carolina, I can tell you back in 2010 was the last time I checked the statistics on this, but there were more millionaires per capita in the state of South Carolina than in any other place in the country. And this was a direct result of the prison industry. It is a huge business. There are people would be surprised of the companies that actually invest or even support and back the prison industry, or that what they refer to as the industrial complex. Um, it's free labor, and at one point in time, that's strictly what it was. You did not get paid, and you were forced to work. I have a personal experience where, I was considered a violent offender. Violent offenders aren't required to work, and there are only certain jobs that violent offenders can get. Like, you can't go out and pick up trash on the side of the road. But they don't have to work because it doesn't affect their time or reduce any time off their sentence one way or another. But they will threaten to write you up, take your privileges away, or even put you on lockup if you do not work. So they try to force your hand one way or another. You're going to be using a mop. You're going to be cutting some grass on the yard. You're going to be doing something, and or working in the kitchen. And then they started implementing minimum wage. At first, I actually worked at a prison industry job. I probably lasted maybe about 3 or 4 days. I was like, man, I told the guy that was running the place, I said, I have never worked for literally pennies on the hour a day in my life. I'm not coming back. And I got in a lot of trouble for that. But I was honestly making like 25 cents an hour. And when you
wow,
earn, yeah, when you pulling
so
strings for
wow,
mops, they use these strings for mops, um, like I think rugs or something like that. But I think it was primarily for mops for cleaning supplies or something. And I left, and then they changed the laws, and they agreed to start paying people that are incarcerated that are working in the prison industry minimum wage. The minimum wage standard, I think, is still 720. Well, it was 725 when I was in prison. Now, here's the trick to that. If you make $7.25 an hour, the prison that you're at is going to take about 70% of that money. They charge you for room and board. They charge you for medical. They charge you for, they have all these taxes that they implement. So
Wait
if
a
you,
minute. Okay, sorry to draw.
what's
This is
that?
okay. Keep going, keep going. I'm just like I have so many
So
questions.
if you
Go
make
ahead.
$100, you're only getting paid $30.
Because you have to pay the prison system, who is
Yep.
already getting paid.
And you're getting taxed by the state and the federal government.
WTF?
Yeah. Yep. Tell me about it. So it's set up where now technically they can say no, that's not slave labor because we pay the inmates. But when you look at what they get paid versus, because honestly, these guys, if you weren't charging them for room and board, that's already covered by the state. This complex is already built. I live for free. I got 3 square meals a day. If I chose to eat that food, it's free. So now I get a job. Now you're going to charge me for it when you're already they're making money hand over fist. Now, companies like, let's say, I don't know, one of these cleaning supplies, like any random mop you might find at a store or something like that. It's possible that they actually have their product made in the prison industry.
Yeah.
And this is, as consumers, we're supporting this. Now, there are those of us that really don't care, but there's something to, you really got to look at what's going on, because here's the thing. If we're paying for this and that company is actually having this product made in the prison industry, they're getting it made super cheap,
Right.
off of cheap labor. The government is actually making money off of this because the prison industry has to pay the state government for that. So all we're doing is funneling money right back into the pockets of politicians at the end of the day. Wow. And I mean, there's a lot more to it than us just thinking it's just, they got to go to prison. Oh, it's way more to it than that. These guys, I witnessed a guy that had full-blown cancer. The healthcare is subpar. He had cancer. He had to have had cancer for a long time, and they never checked this guy. And I remember one day I was talking to him. He worked for prison industry. He couldn't go to work. They put him on restrictions and everything because the doctors wouldn't take him out of work, say anything was wrong with him. I was at the doctor because I had gotten a cold. I saw him. I asked him how he was doing. He was like, man, I'm all right. Next day I saw him sitting outside, and he was just in this weird space, just oddly happy for no reason. And later that afternoon, he went to take a shower. They found him dead in the shower during count time. And then turns out he had stage 4 cancer. Word got back from some of his family that he actually had stage 4 cancer. So we as taxpayers are paying to have people incarcerated through the state. We pay that in our taxes. That's how they fund this. There's also a stock market. So people are putting their money in there, receiving dividends off of this. The prison industry is benefiting off of this. They're making money hand over fist. And all the while, we're thinking that our loved ones are getting fed properly. They're getting proper health care. And that's not the case. All the money that gets pumped into these systems go absolutely nowhere, but in the pockets of the individuals that are supposed to be, well, running the state and running the prison. I made a strong attempt to try to get, now it wasn't against the rules for me to try to get an education. I wanted, but in the state of South Carolina, you cannot go to college to get a college degree unless you pay for it yourself. You can, if you're under a certain age, you're required to get a GED. But on some yards, work camps, they will even, people that don't have their GED, I saw plenty of guys that were under the age of 21 getting thrown out on trash trucks. School was not priority. They would throw them out on trash trucks, have them out there picking up trash. In the afternoons, they come back, day is over with, there's no school to go to. They don't enforce that rule on certain yards. I went to the warden and was trying to get permission to just get some books. My family was gonna contribute to furthering my education and everything when I was back there. It's just give me something to do. It was like, oh, I got this time. I
Right.
work on a degree.
Mhm.
And he told me, I'm not allowing the books in. You have to work. And I looked at him, and this is a true story. I looked at him and was like, you mean to tell me you would rather me run around this yard doing whatever odd job as opposed to me getting an education? And I threatened to write the headquarters, the main prison, um, and tell them, because what he didn't realize is that I worked in education, helping people get their GEDs the entire time I was incarcerated. So I knew what the rules and the policies were. And he hurried up and had me shipped off that yard as soon as he could. He didn't want that kind of static. But it's a very interesting situation. These are a lot of things that people don't get a chance to hear about. There's a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't get a chance to hear about that occurs in prison. Just because when people get out, they just get out. And then there are certain things that people just don't speak on, and they just want to kind of leave it behind them. It's one thing for us to watch documentaries on this stuff, and how things happen, but it's another to actually live it and experience it. It's a whole different world back there, man. And then when I get out here and I see just how beneficial it is, Michael Jordan owns a lot of prisons in the state, or is invested in a lot of prisons in the state of North Carolina. A lot of people don't know that. And that's one I love the
I didn't
guy.
know that.
Yeah, Michael
Wow.
Jordan. This happened after his
Now,
father got
Michael
killed.
Jordan, which Michael Jordan? Because there's the actor
I'm
and there's
talking
the.
about the 5-ring Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm talking.
Whoa.
Yeah, Michael Jordan owns, but this happened. Now, on one hand, I understand why he did it, because this came on the tail end of his father being killed. When his father was found dead, his father was murdered. And then after that, this is when he started investing in the prison system. So his
Yeah.
mindset would be different of a person that is just, he had a reason for doing that, because he was like, I want bad people to be locked up. They killed my father. So I get that. Now, the Michael Jordan we know now, the man that I see now, I can honestly tell you that that type of individual, given the opportunity to do it all over again, seeing as how the climate has really surfaced, it hasn't changed, it's just surfaced.
Yeah.
He can see the clouds at this point. I don't think he would do it this time. I just want to say that about him, because I don't want to bash the man in all
Yeah.
fairness. Yeah.
Well, not yeah. Not that this channel is whatever. If it gets to him to his ears, I apologize. Like
Yeah.
I was apologizing to Madonna yesterday on my podcast,
Oh, really?
and yeah, Madonna, and you have to hear it to understand why I was apologizing to her.
I got
But
you.
I meant what I said about her, and so if she heard that and she got offended, too bad. You were late. I paid to see you, and you you showed up 2 hours late to your concert. I don't appreciate
Oh,
that,
wow.
Madonna.
Oh, wow. Two
But
hours. And she
no,
said she
Michael
was acting
Jordan
like a
seems like
rapper,
a
wasn't she?
what's that?
I said she was acting like a rapper, wasn't she?
I
Showing up two
know,
hours
but
late.
I should have just got up and left and get my money back, and
Yeah.
it was $300, whatever
Oh,
spent.
wow. Yeah, she
Anyhow,
definitely pulled the Lauren Hill, but go ahead.
oh, Lauren Hill too.
Yeah,
Well, I would have
Lauren Hill.
waited 2 hours for her. She's amazing.
Yeah, I love her, but she will make
I
you
do.
wait 2 hours.
Okay, no problem. No, but switching back to what you were saying though, because I saw the documentary, The 13th.
Hmm.
Um, do you recommend people see this movie in order to
Absolutely.
understand it more? Because I understood it more when I saw it.
Yeah,
I have to
absolutely.
see it again because this was back in the pandemic time and there was nothing to do.
Yeah,
So I started watching documentaries,
yeah,
and spend time on TikTok and finding out stuff. But that's where I learn most of the stuff is through documentaries like the
yeah.
13th, on Netflix, I think it is.
There's
Um,
something else that you make me think about real quick. But that is probably the best resource for people to use because it gives you a backstory on how things have occurred and how misled we were throughout the course of history. It really got bad during the civil rights movement. It really started to crank up back then. Obviously, everyone knows that people that were protesting um, were getting thrown in jail right and left. One of the reasons why we have the no weapons permitted signs in federal buildings is because of what the Black Panthers were doing, exercising their rights and standing on state capitol grounds bearing their arms. And then shortly after that, during the Reagan administration, now this thing comes up. We got to figure out a way how to, how to get these weapons out of their hands. It's an ugly game that they played. They came up with this law that forbids anyone that has been convicted of a felony to carry a weapon. Now, the reason they did this had absolutely nothing to do with someone that was of color, that had been in prison, for something. The reason they came up with this bill was it had nothing to do with anybody that had committed crimes in prison. Someone commits a crime, a gun is used, person needed to be in a mental hospital. And I say this very loosely, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but this person needed treatment and committed a crime. Now, as a result, people that are incarcerated for shoplifting can't even protect themselves. They come up with this bill all of a sudden. Now, after that bill was passed, now we had the crack epidemic come, and we all know the background behind what happened with drugs and how they got into communities, urban communities, and so on, and then the laws that were passed. So what I do appreciate about that segment on Netflix was what they revealed about Bill Clinton, his administration. That administration, I'm not saying Bill, his administration did more damage than J. Edgar Hoover, than Richard Nixon, than Ronald Reagan, than George Bush Sr. Collectively, he took a major blow to people of color in this country when he passed that crime reform bill, all because he had all these people in his ears. And the thing that I realized back then when I was young, Bill Clinton was in office, I realized back then, how can any one of these presidents identify to us collectively to understand what we got to go through? They know nothing about us, but they make these decisions that impact us. They have no clue how it's going to impact us. As a result of that, however, I like to give the good and the bad. As a result, when Bill and Hillary saw the damage that had been done, they openly spoke about it and made public apologies and said they were going to work diligently to be able to change this. So finally, Barack Obama gets in office. He's working on this crime reform bill to take all of that stuff off the plate. Mind you, he has Hillary Clinton as his Secretary of State. And she's the one doing all the legwork in the background, because this is something her and Bill had said, we are going to do this.
Right.
Well, obviously the Senate and the Congress wouldn't approve it while Barack was in office, because it was this tug of war between Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
So then you fast forward to Donald Trump. The minute he does it, he gets credit for it.
Right.
But in all fairness, at least the great pumpkin, the headless horseman, at least he did pass the bill.
Now, what bill is what is the bill?
It was a crime reform bill where
crime reform. Okay.
Yeah, they started restructuring the sentences. They already had worked on changing during Barack Obama's administration the laws on the drug laws, the statutes on the drug laws, where it was lopsided with cocaine charges and crack charges. They balanced that out a little bit and made the charges fair. People started getting released, and then reducing sentences based on the nature of your crime when Donald Trump got into office, and people started getting released as a result of that as well. So they've
Right.
made progress, but this is on a federal level. What people don't realize, on a state level, you still have a long road
Right.
ahead on any state level. Federal does not automatically trump state. It does not work that way. And there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And if you look at state to state, still the prison system is still lopsided. 70 to 80% of the prison population is people of color still. It's
Yeah.
still that way. And I've even said this too, and I don't mean to offend, but let's use logic and reason. The people of color in this country roughly make up collectively um 15, 20% of the population. Let's just say 20% of the population. The other 80% of the population, well, we already know. Okay. How is it possible? Does it even make sense that 20% of the population could commit more crimes than 80% of the population? That's impossible.
Right.
It's impossible.
It's because
When
they're being targeted.
being targeted, exactly. Now,
Right.
when you look at it from that perspective, instead of being so dismissive, saying, "Oh, well, they they have the same opportunities I had. They this and they that." I had all the opportunities in the world. And my charges, my crime, the crime that I was charged with, wasn't even a real crime, to be totally honest with you.
Okay.
I was raised in Catholic school. You and I discussed that.
Right.
I went to Catholic school for eight
Ah, we,
years.
we we spoke about that too. Okay.
Yeah, yep. I went to Catholic school for 8 years. My two sisters and I had one older and one younger. All three of us were educated in private schools, college. All of us went to college. All of us were professionals. I still am. Um, and I mean, we're doing really well for ourselves. I made a decision one night. Give you a little backstory. There's a guy who was related to me, and well, by marriage, and he was going to go on a run. He had already been incarcerated for drug charges. He had been incarcerated twice, and I did not realize he had violated federal probation, got caught with some more drugs. He
Mhm.
said he was going to go on a run. I was like, nope, don't do that. Don't leave that woman and those kids with nothing. Do you have anything that you could do? Anybody that owes you any money? He said, yeah, people owe me money. People just don't want to pay me. So I said, okay, I'll help you out with that. So I got together with him and tried to start collecting money. And I told him, you're going to pay me for this. On the back end, I'll collect my money from you, but we'll make sure you're straight before anything happens. So we collect money. I'm up in Jersey for the holidays and I get ready to come back. He gives me a call. Now I had direct communication with everyone. I was communicating with these people that owed him money. This was the only time I did not have any communication with the person that actually owed this money. So I can say, hey, we're coming to pick this money up. Um, he told me, "Guy, be ready to pay this evening. What time are you going to be back?" I said, "I'll link up with you." I had to wait a couple of hours for him. I didn't know what was going on. He finally meets up with me. I had to work the next day. I had a good job. I had a 3-story townhouse and SUVs. I had a Tahoe and an Expedition, a couple other cars. I was doing really well for myself. So I meet up with him. He finally shows up and we are driving around trying to find this guy's house. And I'm like, if you talk to him, how do you not know where he lives? A lot of things were just kind of fishy to me. And we finally find the house after we passed by it 13 times. Get ready to get out of the vehicle. He walks up to the door, knocks on the door, rings the doorbell. And I'm standing off in the distance in the yard smoking a cigarette because, I'm just wanting to make sure everything, he just is supposed to be give him the money you owe him and we're gone. I hear sirens in the background off in the distance. I was like, something doesn't feel right. Let's go. We get back in the vehicle, unmarked squad car pulls up and I'm looking, I'm like, is this him? Because the guy had a car similar to that. He was like, I don't know. So I'm flashing my lights, car's just sitting there, no headlights or anything on, tinted windows. So I'll go ahead and pull out in front of the car. Next thing I know, high beams and blue lights. I drive to the end of the street at a stop sign, the major highway. Squad cars lined up over here with spike strips, guns drawn, K9 units over here, helicopter in the air. I looked at the guy and I was like, what's going on? He's like, just drive. I'm like, what do you mean just drive? I pull over in the median. They snatch me up out of the car, guns on the back of my head and everything. That's what I got charged for. My charges. Now, what happened? True story. There wasn't anything left out. I never even touched the house. Never even came in contact with this man. Nobody did because he never came to the door. They charged me with attempted armed robbery, attempted first-degree burglary, weapons possession, because I had a legally registered gun, conspiracy, and failure to stop because I drove to a stop sign. They tried to give me a total of 21 years for that.
Wow.
21 years.
For driving somebody.
Yeah. No
That's
crime was committed. I had judges after the fact. I had judges look at that case. There was absolutely no evidence in my motion of discovery. No evidence stating that any crime had been committed or anything. And when cops looked at that, lawyers, judges, because I have a lot of people that I know, they all looked at this stuff and was like, this should have been a blue ticket charge for trespassing. That's all you should have had, just trespassing. And I wound up getting it reduced to 10. They just went on ahead and gave me 10. First time I've ever been in trouble in my life, gave me 10 years. And I will, if we have another moment, I'll be able to share the rest of that story.
No, for sure.
You. Yeah.
I just wanted to, I didn't want to interrupt you. Like,
oh, no. That's okay. That's okay.
But we do have to have a part 2 because this is getting interesting now.
Yeah.
You're a good storyteller.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm on the edge of my seat, literally. I'm on the edge of my seat. So let's take a break. Let's take a breather. I do want to take a breather.
All right.
And we'll be right back, guys. Don't go away. I didn't see this coming. This is getting interesting. Hold on. Yeah. Where were we?
So we were with the helicopters and the spike strips and K9. So I got taken to jail. I had $150,000 bond. They did not want to let me go. Turns out that they made me a mastermind of the whole situation. Individual with no prior charges. I was accompanied by a well-known drug dealer who was my in-law. And
what were you the mastermind? What were you the mastermind of this?
I have no idea. I think it has a lot to do with what he told them. Long story short, we went to court. I finally got out on bond. They reduced my bond down to $10,000. I made bond and I got out, and I really thought, like, I'm not going to go do any time for this. And I was rebuilding my life. I literally lost everything. My home, vehicles. I had absolutely nothing. You're looking at a guy that was homeless, living on the street. Some wonderful people. They were drug addicts. They were addicted to crack. Welcomed me into their home, and I literally slept on there. This isn't the only place I stayed. This was just the most impactful moment of my life, and it was it changed my perception on a lot of things. But they welcomed me in their home, gave me a mattress. That's all they had, a mattress on the floor. And I just have to be a bit graphic about it. There were cockroaches and all kinds of bugs eating me up every night, but I was at least out of the elements. They never took one penny from me, made sure I ate every single day. Two of the most wonderful people I've ever met in my life, who would be considered outcast and black sheep of society. But that taught me a valuable lesson. Now, there's more with this story about my personal life prior to this that's pretty heavy, that led up to this point, and that had a direct impact on my mindset, my mental state. leading up to this, why I made the decision to go out and accompany this in-law that night. But anyway, I built myself all the way back up. I was cutting hair. I was probably making about $2,000 a week. Cutting hair, got me a vehicle, was about to get another place and get my family back together. And the bounty hunters came looking for me. I had no idea that my lawyer and the solicitor had backdoor conversations and wanted me yanked back off the street. And I was taken off the street, thrown back in jail. And they were trying to get me to cooperate, to tell them about the inner workings of my co-defendant's operation. That was not what I was charged for. I gave them nothing. They all met with me at the in the jail. A detective, the state's attorney, and my attorney came and met with me. They were trying to get me to tell them some information. I didn't have anything to give them. Eventually, I was just like, whatever, if that's what you want, yeah, that's what it was. Okay. They agreed at that moment to give me 5 years. They were only going to recommend 5 years. And I'd probably do 2, they said. I said, okay. I mean, that was the best I could do. When I went to court, my lawyer handed me all of that. I think they're called affidavits or whatever, but he handed me all the paperwork and said, sign them. And I looked at all of them and I was like, wait, this isn't what we discussed. I'm not signing all of this. My lawyer looked at me and said, if you don't sign them, I was green. If you don't sign them, they're going to send everybody out of the courtroom, bring in the grand jury and give you the max on every charge. I was scared, shaking like a leaf.
What kind of lawyer?
I had a paid attorney to begin with, but then there was a conflict of interest. And there were no more funds to pay for another attorney. I found a good public defender, and then he pulled off of my case without me knowing while I was on bond, and I wound up with this guy, a man of color. Man of color.
That's surprising.
Yeah, his name's Rodney Ritchie.
I picture somebody named White or something, you know.
Nah, this guy, he was a black attorney.
Wyatt.
Yeah. He and I signed the paperwork and they sentenced me first, sent me out, and I got more time than than the other guy. I got more time than he did. Now there's another story that happens after I went to prison. There's a slew of stories after that, but I only did 7 years. I didn't get out because of good behavior. I actually saved an officer's life on Christmas Day. He was being assaulted by a guy that was on suicide watch and the guy was trying to kill him. And I restrained the guy, and the state they didn't try to do anything for me. They didn't tell me anything about you can get a reduction on your sentence or anything like that. And when I finally I finally got into court after I found out about this. I did all my paperwork myself, went to court. The initial lawyer that had to pull off of my case that I had been knowing since first grade, he's a big criminal attorney in this state, really good guy. He represented me. I had a few lawyers working behind the scenes on my behalf, got me in front of the judge that I was initially supposed to go in front of. They put me in front of a known racist judge he was retired. They pulled him out of retirement just to fill in the slot and purposely sent me in front of him. There was a woman that I was supposed to go in front of. Ironically enough, she happened to be the one that I went in front of for my sentence reduction hearing. The state's attorney, same guy, was like, he told me, yeah, I'll go with whatever they recommend. Soon as we get in there, this snake says, nope, Mr. Gray is a violent offender. He still has victims on the street and all this kind of stuff. And my attorney spoke up and said, look, he broke the code. Being back there, he could have lost his life because he saved an officer's life. He was telling the truth. And he asked for an immediate release. The judge spoke and said, Mr. Gray, I remember your case. For whatever reason, they took it off my docket that day, but I'll never forget your case came across my desk. And she said, for the life of me, I never understood. And she said, it infuriates me that you got the amount of time that you got for what was in your paperwork. There's no reason you should have ever done that amount of time.
Mm.
And she said, was talking about the fact that I saved the officer's life, how honorable that was. And she's going to try to make a statement by releasing me so that it would be, create an impact back there in prison. So people will be like, dang, we can get out early potentially if we are doing, something nice for these security guards or whatever.
Okay.
And she said, I give you an immediate release. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, what? What did she just say? I'm going home? And he was like, yeah, you're going home, buddy. And I was like, I'm going to be on paperwork? He said, no, you're going home. I wasn't on probation. I didn't have community service. I didn't have to report to anybody. I was literally spit straight out of the system. Now, the funny thing about this state, they tried to charge me with escape when I went back to prison. They were supposed to let me go immediately. I was still sitting there. I sat there for another 30, almost 45 days, I think. It doesn't take that long to process this stuff.
No.
I got back there. I kept going to the office, setting up appointments to go to the office. Like, man, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here. They finally told me, if you don't stop coming up here, you're not going home. We're going to charge you with an escape. And I was like, man, I had 2 cell phones while I was back there. I was constantly on the phone. Called my lawyer up. I was badgering him. I was like, man, they're going to charge me with escape if you don't do something. He said, listen, I'm on it. I'm just waiting to hear back from the judge. I was like, man, it shouldn't take this long. Judge sent some nasty letter to headquarters, like, what part of immediate release don't y'all understand? I will make sure this prison is shut down indefinitely if you don't release this man. The next morning they came and got me. This is the tricky part. They made me sign all the paperwork, the release forms and everything. Had me in a room with no telephone, had no access to get in contact with anybody. They wouldn't even let me back on the yard. They came back and handed me another form. It was a waiver that I would not sue the state. I couldn't even call my attorney about this.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
That's how that was my next question, because you could have, you should have gotten money.
Yeah.
You can sue them, because the same case that happened with in Milwaukee, where I got that case.
Yep.
The serial killer case.
Yep.
Well, he wasn't a serial anyway. Doesn't matter. Yeah. That's so.
Yeah. It was in the heat of the moment, me looking back at it, I was thinking about it now, is like, I stand on principles and morals, but if it had not been for my 2 sons, and at the time my ex, I would have told them, no, send me back on the yard. I'm not signing this. And I would have got on my cell phone and called my lawyer, but like, this is what they're trying to do. Go ahead and file a civil lawsuit. But in that moment, I was like, I just want to go home.
Right.
No, I had been.
You can't. Well, you can't really fight that anymore, can you?
Yeah, actually, I can. Actually, I can. This it could be held up in litigation forever, but I'm actually, I got some people behind the scenes looking into some things for me at this point. But I tried to be tough as nails all that time, and when that moment when freedom was right there, it was like, I just want to go.
I would have signed it too. I would be like, just whatever.
Yeah.
Because you just want to see your family, or want to be out of there, and your kids, and I would have done the same.
Yeah, it was a big shock, though. I mean, it was definitely a cultural shock. Getting back out, nothing looked the same anymore. It felt like I had been in there an eternity, and just having
how long?
to readjust.
What year was this that you were released?
I went in it. I came out in 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it hadn't been too long. It seems like an eternity ago now, but it hasn't been too long. But
that's when social media started, and
you were.
Okay. A
Yep.
lot change. A lot changed, really.
Yes. I
Yeah,
mean,
cell
I was
phones
really
and yeah.
shocked. I was really shocked. I was like, what in the world, man? I
Right.
didn't, and it just trying to become acclimated in society again, because a lot of things that don't go on back there, people do it every day out here. And, you have to, it was the level of anger or level of frustration or the mindset that you would have. Like if you let this person walk with it, you're pretty much, you're going to be a victim. You got to address this right then. You got to say something. You got to handle this situation. What they refer to as TTG, train to go. And I had to realize like real quickly, because I was snapping off on people when I first got home. I'm not that kind of person. I'm real laid back and humble. And I took a moment. I was like, yeah, I'm free. I can't act like this anymore. I just have to swallow a lot of stuff. These people don't understand what kind of mindset I'm in, and I wind up getting myself in way worse trouble if I react
Right.
to a lot of this stuff. So it took a while.
No, yeah. I mean, the trauma of not being able to speak up
Yeah.
to the to the guards or to whoever, and
Well,
because
that's the
they're
thing.
the ones, whoever's oppressing you, whoever it
Yeah.
is, you can't really talk back to them. So
You're not supposed to.
where's that anger going to go?
Right. Yep.
That,
Exactly.
that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, and I have to tell people it was hard, but my walk was easy. Because I'm real good with people. I'm a people person. I didn't kiss anybody's behind. I spoke my mind. It's just I don't know. All the officers, every yard I was on, they were like, what are you in here for? You don't even look like you belong in here. They treated me differently because of the way I carried myself, the way I spoke. They just saw something different in me. If in the event I came across somebody that officer that I had problems with, I could say whatever I wanted to him and it cuss him out, whatever. And he would try to write me up. It would never stand. He'd try to get me in trouble. It would never stand. I was actually, they used me on every yard I was on for the most part. They would come and get me because I was mentoring a lot of people while I was back there, younger guys.
Yeah.
Um, I was teaching them a lot of things just in my spare time. And a lot of times they would come and get me to intervene in situations where there was conflict. The officers would literally come and get me like, we need you to come. These aren't any small yards, mind you. And they wouldn't do this like all over the yard. It'd just be in the area where the dorms that were on the same side that I was on, same side of the yard, they would have, because I knew all of those people, and they would get me to come in and try to mediate and stuff like that. I was known as a peacekeeper, if you will, while I was back
Yeah.
there. So my walk was easy, though it was not, it still is not anything that I would definitely want anybody to go through unless it's well deserved.
Right.
That's not for anybody. But at any rate, uh, it was definitely experience, and I think there's more there's a lot more that goes along with that conversation.
Now, my question to you would be like, because we really haven't spoken face to face until today.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what do you think? People that are coming out of prison, I don't know. Or how can the families help them? Because, like you're saying, you were misplacing your anger towards your family, right, or your
Well,
loved
just the
ones,
people in
and
general, not my
or
family,
people in
just
general. Okay.
society,
Okay.
because I came out, people, when people come out of prison, family, loved ones have to understand that language, certain words that are used, and like you got to be very careful. It's like the people around us have to walk on eggshells. You can't be loose at the lips and just saying anything towards this individual, and that is a fact. um Words like you said, there's no censorship. Calling somebody a punk, a pussy, a bitch, you can't
Right.
do stuff like that, because that automatically sets off triggers. And
Right.
I mean, I remember I would get this tightness in my chest every time I would hear those words. Because back in prison, You let that walk, that's exactly the label that you're going to wear, and people are going to be trying you all the time. So you got to deal with that situation right there on the spot. There's going to be a fight if somebody uses those words.
Mm.
You got to allow them time to decompress.
Yeah.
But the flip side of it, there's a happy medium, because I'm not the kind of person that's actually going to sit back and just kind of want to be pampered and all this kind of stuff. People that come out of prison don't need pampering. You've lived on steel and concrete, for however long. If you've been in there more than 3 years, 2 or 3 years, I'd say your condition, you don't need to be treated with kitten gloves. Just watch your language around them, and don't allow any kind of altercations to occur. Keep that in the clear. A person that comes out of prison needs a calm environment to be in order for them to readjust and get situated in those situations, especially if it's this type of individual that is typically high strung anyway. If a laid back individual comes out, they'll be fine. High strung individuals, typically it's gonna be some stuff. You've got to try your best to redirect them. Encouragement, support, but not in the sense of monetary. It's more mental support than anything, because people that come out of prison, a lot of times they're hustlers. I have yet, even the ones that laid down on their back and just gave up on life and everything, they still had some hustle about them. These are the kinds of individuals, when they come out, they have all the potential in the world to run circles around people that have never been in there, that are successful out here. The mind works differently, and there's an I have to get it type of mentality. I can't use, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody by any means. I was in corporate America before I went to prison, so it wasn't hard for me to transition back into that when I got out. 6 months time from the day I set foot outside, 6 months later, I bought a house, 2 vehicles, and I was on my way. And I never looked back. It only took me 6 months. Some of the guys I know that came out, it took them a little bit longer, but they still got their traction. I was ahead of the game because I've already been used to that. A lot of people, a lot of times, especially in major cities, these people don't know what it's like to have a job. It's not that they have to have a job. You got to be creative. There's tons of things that individuals can do to make money now legally. A lot of things people can do. You got social media, just telling your story about. People love prison stories. They love it. I was sitting around with psychologists, lawyers, some doctors, chiropractors, and a judge in a room. They wanted to sit down and listen. This wasn't when I was incarcerated. This is since I've been home. All they wanted to hear about were my prison stories. They were eating it up. They loved that. And especially when they look at someone, this is what people in prison have to understand. Even though we're considered outcast and black sheep, but there are people that celebrate and applaud us when we put forth that effort and actually take off in a positive direction. There are people around that will support you. They applaud that. And I mean, I was in a room full of these individuals, millionaires. It was like, oh man, what they were wanting to start up some kind of nonprofit organization. Like, we'll do whatever you need and da da da. Oh my goodness, this is just great. They love that kind of stuff. People love success stories. And oftentimes, because of the environment we go into when we get home, the mindset is like, here we go again. I got to get out here and get it the best way I can. And it's not always like that. Those are the circumstances sometimes, but we have to know that it's a revolving door. They expect us to go back. If you make it through that community supervision, you make it through your probation period, the sky's the limit for you. There's absolutely nothing that can stand in our way but ourselves. We don't ever have to go back to that place again. It's just a matter of how much success you want. There aren't many resources for us out here. I didn't utilize any, but there are resources. You just have to be able to network. If you can network and get plugs for dope, if you can network and have people with a little illegal credit card stuff going on, you can network and do something positive as well.
Mm.
All you have to do is just convert what it is that you used to know into something new and positive. That's really it at the end of the day. I
Mm.
know I met some of the most brilliant individuals back there. And I mean, their minds, I know I'm a smart guy, but these guys were geniuses. And and some of them have life sentences. Um,
Mm.
and it's unfortunate. And some of them deserve the life sentences. They're good people, but they did some heinous shit at the end of the day. They deserve what they got, but they're wonderful people at the end of the day. But if they had the opportunity, oh my good, the
Mm.
stuff that you see them come up with while they're back there, like making battery packs and just, I mean, what they can put to use
Yeah.
from nothing.
They're like MacGyvers.
Yeah, dead serious. I was like, get out of here. You literally made a riding lawnmower out of a wheelbarrow and a fan motor? No, I'm joking about that, but yeah, it's something like that though. Seriously, it's the contraband enterprise. That is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise back there. Let me tell you. Whoa, the contraband that gets in there. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but as far as family goes, family just being supportive and understanding and not judgmental, because we got enough odds stacked against us as it is, and it's already hard. It's going to be tough enough. We got a lot of obstacles and challenges to face. Another thing, for those that tune in, that may have loved ones or just getting out of prison or
Mm.
whatever, share a piece of information. This is something I knew. A charge most times, and unless we can't get state jobs necessarily, and we definitely can't get federal jobs, can't be doctors, can't be teachers and stuff like that. However, basic sled checks only go back 7 years. That's from the date of your sentence.
Mhm. Okay.
7 years. After that, they can run a basic sled check. 7 years and one day, nothing's going to come up. Living
Mm.
proof. I was working for a major corporation distribution company, and I was a transportation manager for this company.
Mm.
7 years, one day, nothing. After 10 years, certain companies can't find anything at all.
Okay.
So that's where you're in the clear. There are options. We have opportunities and we have chances. It's just people don't know little things like that.
Mm. When are you doing your podcast about all? I mean, you got stories.
Oh,
You
I
were
got a lot
asking
of
me. You were talking in your life, and the moment you said, "I'm thinking of doing a podcast," I was typing that in. I'm like, and then I sent. I'm like, he just say that
Yep. I
because
remember that.
yeah, you were like, what? And so, but my point is, Kiyoki, that you have yeah, you're gonna have people that want to know or want to talk to you maybe, or want to hear your experiences and your stories, because you got more stories that you were talking about that I
Mhm.
don't think I can expand another two
Right,
hours on this one today,
right.
but
We
maybe
got
on
to talk
part
about the
two,
music
or
too.
we can do another part. But
Absolutely.
because we wanted to talk about other stuff like your music. You have You're a
Yes.
musician. I was listening to your. That's how it started. Actually, you were talking. You were playing your music and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, "Is that your music?" He's like, "Yeah, okay, cool." But do we have another part? Well, we can do it now before we go. So when are you going to release your music? What is the? I'm totally switching it to a
Yeah,
different.
that's fine. That's fine. Um Music, uh what we did, we took friend of we've been rapping together, and it is rap, it's hip hop. Um we've been doing it since we were 16 years old. I learned how I couldn't put two words together to save my life, and good friend of mine from Brooklyn, um he moved down south. He taught me how to actually rap. He's like the GOAT to me, always has been. Nobody's ever heard this guy, his name before. But it was me, him, another guy, and one of our other friends from Cleveland. who's lived out in California before. But anyway, we got together and we just started. The guy from Cleveland actually made all the beats. I don't know if you're familiar with Wu-Tang, but he was like the RZA
Yeah,
to
of course.
us. And he could rap and all this kind of stuff. And me and my friend, that his name's Marlon, me and my friend Medina couldn't rap to save our lives. So Joakim and Marlon were the two rappers, and they had it all together. So I'm very competitive, and I just started practicing, and eventually I got really good. I never used to write anything. I never wrote anything down. Everything that I did was always freestyle. And I
Mhm.
did that for years, up until here recently. Medina and I sat down, and we've done some music with each other, like dually, like me and Medina, or me and Joakim, or me and Marlon, and they would do something with each other, but it was never us collectively. So me and Medina were sitting down. I went by his house one day, and he's like, "Hey," he said, "what do you think about us coming together and doing some music?" I was like, "Yeah, what do you mean?" He's like, "Really going into a studio collectively and recording some stuff together, because we've never done that." I was like, at this point, with all the stuff that we got to talk about, yeah, absolutely, I'm all for it. So we start trying to put everything together. Instead of using my friend Marlon to produce anything, we were like, it's gonna take him forever. This dude will take 1 year to make a beat. He's really good, but we just didn't have time for that. So I was like, listen, why don't we just do Ice Cube did something jacking for beats one time. So let's just come up with a list of instrumentals and just start writing to it, or we could freestyle to it, or whatever. And that's how I got started. And I came up with the list of songs the instrumentals we were going to use, and we just immediately started. We sent it out to everybody, and you know, we're some titans on it, man. I'm trying to tell you, this is actually the first time I write a lot, but actually writing verses to songs,
Yeah.
I rarely have done, and I've actually been impressed with the outcome. Very There's some emotional songs on there that you rarely find in rap. Um, one of them where I'm talking about my mom and my grandmother that passed away. They raised me. Um, and then, my friend Medina is talking about his marriage, and
Hmm.
Joakim is talking about the struggles of people of color in this country. So
Hmm.
it's a really thick song.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's some other ones where we're just kind of flexing our intellect with the words and everything. But it's
Cool.
going to be interesting. It was supposed to be done Christmas, but
Mhm.
we're on colored people time.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's
It'll
actually
be
partially.
sometime in
Yeah,
yeah, we'll
hopefully,
see.
hopefully we'll have it done, because it's almost complete. We just got to get everything mastered. So hopefully I'm looking at March now. And it's
Okay.
partially my fault, because I've had a lot of stuff going on with work, transitions at work and everything. So
Well, you can't rush creativity. I
yeah.
learned that. I learned it. Yeah, I learned that. There's and then yeah, we're so harsh on ourselves, anyways. It's like, come on,
Oh yeah. I'm my
like
worst
it'll
critic.
it'll be ready when it's ready.
Yeah, I'm
But
definitely my
when
worst
it's
critic.
ready, when it is ready, I do want you to come back to Italo's Black Tag Radio and talk about it. And
Absolutely.
and hopefully by then we'll be talking about your podcast and what
Hopefully.
are we going to talk about in your podcast?
Yes, yes, hopefully. I hope
Because
so.
this story is not over. It's only part one or part one and two now.
Yeah.
It turns out that a lot of people that are coming to my show, they want to come back and
Oh
and
yeah.
check. Like what's the update? There's an update. Like every couple months.
Right. Yeah.
Especially if you're in TikTok and or social media. In TikTok time, if you're not around for a month, it's like, where were you? We
You're
missed
right.
you. It's like I was just
Yep.
gone for a couple weeks. Like
Yeah.
still,
Yep, that's
like we
right.
missed you so much. It's like I've only been away for a week or a month. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I have to like cut it off.
Yeah. I had to take a break myself. I told you about that. I was gone since November. So, and I didn't even have the flow of people that normally would come in, because people are like, oh, he's either dead, he got COVID, or he's
Uh,
booed up with somebody right now. But
yeah.
yeah. I'll probably be
No,
on this weekend though.
I'm gonna be posting your information below. So anybody who's listening, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify or Anchor or whatever, I'm gonna post all your information below so they can follow your social media, and
Okay.
then you can update them on your release of your videos or your music.
All right.
Um, and then come back and let us know what's up.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. I will look forward to it. I won't have any like updates for this is what's going on. If we do talk, we're going to be like it's going to
No,
be the
it'll be
to
the
be
release party.
continued. The
It'll be
release
the
party.
release party. Yeah. Right.
I hope
What's the
so. Yeah.
title? What's the title so far, or do you have a title for the project?
I was looking at you remember that movie with it had Andre 3000, Mark Wahlberg, Tyrese Gibson. It was called The Four Brothers or something.
Mm, I don't
They
recall
were
that.
all adopted. They were all adopted, and their mom got killed. Anyway, it came out like
Okay.
2007,
I might
something
have
like
seen
that.
it. I just don't remember the plot.
So I was thinking about either Four Brothers or the Four Horsemen, but I prefer the Four Horsemen because I use that a lot in the verses.
Does the apocalypse is coming?
Yes, 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 yes. Yep, yep.
I mean, I'm Catholic, so I know what the horsemen mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Although I've been dreaming about being a horse myself, so that
Oh, really?
yes,
Huh. Well,
yeah,
that's a majestic. Isn't that considered to be a majestic animal?
I love horses,
Yeah, yeah.
especially when I was in my dream. I was literally flying, just
I was
running
gonna
so fast that I was literally just flying off.
really.
Yeah, not like Pegasus, but
Okay, okay. That's what I was about to ask.
I
Okay, but
made
it
it I
just
made
felt
it
like
through
you were
the
moving so
yeah.
fast.
I was like, how you know what I
Yeah,
mean, like almost floating. Yeah,
yeah. I got you.
yeah. That's
That's pretty
that was
interesting.
a cool dream.
Yeah,
Could have
of
been a
course.
dream. It could have been real. Who knows?
Well, there's always something to dreams. We just don't.
Yeah.
If you're in tune, you'll find out what the purpose was at some point, even if it's after the fact. Like that's why I dreamt I was a horse. I own a
Right.
Mustang now.
Yeah. I just realized something yesterday too. I was like, oh, is that why I saw that sign that said get in the bus? It wasn't that one bus. It was this other bus.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That happens to me a lot, a lot. And it's
Yeah.
been happening a reoccurring theme here lately for me, because of a lot of things. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, it started when I met you. Well, kind of maybe a little bit before that, but then there
Mm,
was a chain of events that took
yeah.
place.
Okay.
And then I met when we met on TikTok.
Yeah.
That started a different chain of events. And it's like I was just sitting up last night. I was like, man, I got so much on my plate at this point. I'm excited about it though, because it's all things that I've really had a passion for, that
Mhm.
I've really wanted to do. And you gave me the opportunity to join you on your podcast. I mean, I want to
Yeah.
thank you for that too. But yeah, that triggered us meeting has
Yeah.
triggered a lot of stuff because since we spoke over the phone, man, the stuff that's been going on this week has been like, I was like, wow. But anyway, people come in contact with each other for a reason. I think there's a purpose
That's
for
for sure.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
for sure.
So, but yeah.
And what else do you want to tell the audience before we leave today?
Well, hopefully, I can revisit at some point, revisit your podcast at a later date. Be looking for the music to drop at any given time. It's almost like showing up to a black person's house for Thanksgiving. Sometimes dinner is not going to be ready at 6 o'clock. It might be about 9 by the time the turkey comes out, but the turkey's coming. And yeah, feel free to check out my TikTok page. I'm gonna try to be a bit more consistent, at least on the weekends, getting on there. And if you like some of the content, I'll have more. I won't have as much flexibility as I have on here because you kind of have to censor yourself on TikTok.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
um,
know that for sure.
Yeah, but at any random moment there'll be some mention of something. I'll wind up talking about all kinds of different things, having a forum platform, people to ask questions, relationships, religion, it doesn't matter. But I definitely appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to joining you again.
All right.
All
All
right.
right, guys. Chioka, I didn't see this coming. These stories were coming and coming and coming. I couldn't stop. So if you guys were wondering if he's still there, I was there. I'm listening, but I was like, whoa, that story, the helicopters and the prison guards, but anyways, we got to go. So tune in to the next episode. I'll be releasing more, a couple more, and that's it. And I'm done for maybe a couple weeks more, and then it's like addicting, But I'll tell you later, Chioka.
Okay. All right.
Give me 1 second. Let me cut this off.
We are go for liftoff in T minus 30.
Hit the record button.
Gosh, that's swell.
It's a roadblock.